Meeting to order, City Commission meeting of Coffeyville, Kansas for Tuesday, July 23rd. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Edwards. Here. Mayor Hendricks.
Here.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Here.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Here.
Commissioner Maples.
Here.
Next up, we have the invocation. I don't see Pastor DePriest here.
Go for it, Paul.
I know what that means.
Yeah, we know
Mr.
what
Paul,
that
would you
means.
do us the honor?
Let's bow. Father in heaven, we are thankful for this day. We're thankful for the opportunity to meet here this evening to conduct the city's business. We pray that you will give us your guidance and your wisdom as decisions are made that will be in the best interest of this community. Be with each commissioner and be with each member of the city staff. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have review of the agenda and a motion.
Move to amend the agenda to add new business item number 7.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Commissioner Maples to amend the agenda to add new business item number 7. Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Next up, the consent agenda, the City Commission meeting minutes from last meeting, Tuesday, July 9th, 2024, and the 2024 appropriation ordinance number AO-24-14 in the amount of $4,813,122.32. Commissioner Maple.
Nothing on the minutes first?
Anything on the minute?
Okay.
Turn it back.
All right, I have some highlights of the appropriation ordinance for this last period. Looks like we had Asplin Tree Service for $16,247.30. Atmos Energy, $44,343.59. Batagler Concrete, $12,781, and that's for the housing project. City of Coffeyville, electric generation and some things like that, $52,506.08. Clint Perkins Construction, that was for home repairs, $10,470. Coffeyville Regional Medical Center, that is our sales tax distribution for this period, $88,045.05. Jared Gilmore and Phillips for professional services, $14,200. Those are for audits. Kansas Department of Health, $17,246.34. Republic Services, that's for the trash, $39,211.40. Come on. Southwest Power Pool, $480,209.57. Southwest Power Administration, $14,643.88. Telex for electric testing, $14,827.94. All right, I missed one. I know I did. The GRDA, yeah, I missed GRDA, and I know I highlighted it.
I know you did.
There it is. Grand River Dam Authority, $2,919,475.77. And then our payroll for this period, $601,638.61. Did anybody have any questions on it?
I'll move to approve items 1 and 2 of the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion is made by Commissioner Van Oster, seconded by Mayor Hendricks, to approve items 1 and 2 of the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye. Next up is appropriation ordinance number AO-24-14A for Coffeyville lifeguarding, Ishams, and Lieberts in the amount of $1,000.99. Any questions? I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion is made by Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Commissioner Edwards, to approve item 3 of the consent agenda as presented. Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Abstain.
All right, next up, we have comments from the public. Is there any members of the public here who would like to come to the podium and speak?
Yeah. Gail.
Gail.
I figured you would. Please state your name and address for the record.
Gil Smith, 1451 County Road 4500, Coffeyville. Mayor
Good evening.
Hendricks and Commissioners. 8th Annual Coffeyville Summer Celebration is behind us. Mike and Andy and I just appreciate everything this town had to offer this year. It's, you know, it just, everything is, it came together. We kept the schedule that we wanted that day. Started out with a little bit of rain. I think it kept our car show down just a little bit because it went north and east, and a lot of them that were coming decided not to come because it was moving in that direction. We still had a little over 100 cars total, registered or not. Kurt Foster and Michelle, his wife, Jason Watson, and Alexis Duncan, they're the ones that kind of headed up that car show. The vendors, it was unbelievable. They came in, a bunch of them came in Friday and Saturday morning, and we had 88.
That's a record for us,
That's good.
and we're gonna have it bigger next year, we hope.
My son Brady and Alec Bobby, they went out and they had the park mapped out where all the electric and water was, and they tried to accommodate all the vendors that needed electric and water. And because of the rain, we had, like Eagle Med, I'd called them and they were supposed to be there at 9, and they said it was pouring in Chanute, and they didn't get here till a little after 10. I want to commend Taylor Crane for having their big crane, and this year I talked to Ronnie Robinette, went to work for 4 Point Services, and they put their crane down on the Holiday Inn side with the big flag, so we had one on both ends. It looked pretty darn cool. To start out in the morning, we, of course, Drew Banzett and Andy Vale played our music and did our announcements. Community band played at 11, and then we had dance teams about noon, and then we had the Michael Jackson tribute by D'Angelo Bradley. And like I said, everything went pretty much as scheduled. Kitty car show, we had 30 cars, 40 kids. We gave them all medallions and $10 each for being there. In about 1 o'clock or so, 1:30, that always seems to be such a cool little deal because the Sheriff's Reserves have got that side by side. It's got lights and siren and everything on it, and they even had a car out there this year, and we escorted them out in front of the Stevenson building, and there was a couple of them that beat us there. Let's see, we had a cornhole tournament that day. The Coffeyville Student Travel Club, I got a hold of Mary Helen McLeod and kind of made a deal with her. I said, you get your kids to come out and sell raffle tickets. Olson's Ace Hardware gave us a Blackstone griddle. And they went around and sold tickets around the park, and they sold $500 worth of tickets. And the proceeds, we gave that away at 7 o'clock, and then the proceeds from that, we split it in 50-50 and drew another ticket for the $250, and then the guy that won that donated it back to them. So that was good. And then I had an anonymous, you want to stay anonymous, donor that came up and gave me $500 to give to them too. So they made $1,000 to go toward their trip that day. Let's see. Roger and Nick Schiefelt, they made our car show trophies. We had top 50 trophies, 4 best of show, 3 under 18 awards. And I don't know whether you know a guy named Robert Greer or not, but I got a hold of him, or he got a hold of me first. But he always makes these wooden trophies, just real, well, not trophies, but plaques. And he made 2. And of course, Mayor Hendry come out, and we had one that was the mayor's choice, so he came out and picked his car. And then the other one, just like last year, we had a special deal made for Lynn Bumgarner. David Bumgarner had passed away, so we had a memorial for him, and she was there. This year, Greg Lumen passed away, and Peggy, his wife, she came out, and I had this Robert Greer. He made a memorial plaque to give to her. It was just a kind of a tearjerker moment for everybody. Let's see. Of course, Backroads Band, the Retro Rockers, put on another great show. And then, I don't know about you, but that fireworks show was amazing. We had more than we ever had. I got up on the stage and was kind of interrupted with James Copeland from KGGF. He came over, and Jason Watson, and they had a certificate made for me for like appreciation. And I'm not one for recognition. It was nice, but I've always been a little intimidated by recognition. So, but it was a nice moment for me too. And then going back to, I want to thank the city. This is 8 years. You backed us 100%. The park was beautiful. All your departments had a hand, electric, water, fire department, police department. I just, appreciate you're backing us, believing in us. GRDA, that was I about fell down when Mike Shook got hold of me and said we had, some money coming our way from GRDA, so he really boosted our ante up this year. I think that's why our fireworks show was even better than it had been before. The park was beautiful as usual. We did have one little unfortunate incident out there. A girl overheated and passed out, and I got the call. And when I got there right afterwards, there was a couple ladies there, and I think they were both nurses, I believe. But I had my cart there and had some cold water, and I'm on oxygen. I just happen to have my oxygen pack with me, and so I gave it to her, and they gave her some oxygen until the EMTs, and they were on it. again, I want to thank everybody that donated, everybody that advertised for us. We had advertisements all up and down the street, the chamber, the banks, the college, right there at the detour, that busy intersection. We got, I think we really got the word out to a lot of people this year. I think it was our largest crowd. After the fireworks, the reserves came back to me and said they were out in the street for 52 minutes getting the people out of the park. They had backed up clear to Walmart, every parking lot out there, baseball, softball fields. The refinery was good enough to give me that lot between that rec center and I think, what is it, Cook? Is that Cook there up by the steam engine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were full. I finally got a chance to go around the park this year, and I couldn't believe the cars. I never seen so many taillights in my life. But then again, I want to thank anybody that was involved, the businesses, the individuals. I just thought it was a tremendous day. Just the largest crowd we've ever seen. Thanks to Coffeyville, or the city of Coffeyville, and the chamber, and Reawakening. Denise, she works hard. Amy Dollar works hard at the chamber for us. I guess I'm just proud of the fact we put on a good show. And it's a community event. We had stuff out there for, the whole family to enjoy. We had the kids stuff going on, water slides and a obstacle course and bounce houses and everything to eat that you could think of and everything to buy you could think of and information and some exhibits, and it's really turned into a really nice event. So, I guess that's all I really got to say. Thank you.
Gail, we just thank you for your effort you do every year with this, and it's such a large effort with your team and the people who are helping you, and it's such a spectacular event for the city of Coffeyville. And yes, the fireworks were spectacular this
They
year.
were awesome.
Those Kirk and Seeger, they started bringing equipment down, I think 10 days before the event. And there was I think 5 or 6 loads of, their racks and their mortars and their electronics, and they store everything at my house. And I got a couple of containers and they just packed them full, use them like bunkers. But
I hear from a lot of people that just love the event and love the day and love the fireworks, and appreciate your work on this.
They had about 15 people out there this year setting this one up. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of work, but man, those guys they know what they're doing, and and they put on a lot of put on a really good show for Coffeyville. I'm proud to say that I think we've got one of the biggest in southeast Kansas. So anyway, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think next year.
Yeah, when's next year?
Next year,
The weekend.
I looked it up. It looks like it's
I
going
wanna
to
hear it
be
from
July the 12th.
Okay, I want to hear it from you.
I think the 4th falls on a Friday, I
Right.
believe.
Yes,
So we'll skip the week and go to the 12th.
okay.
And
I think everybody likes that.
I guess I better go home and start.
You better go home and start planning.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, thank
very
you.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Next item is the public hearing and special presentation and we have the City of Coffeyville audit report for fiscal year 2023. We have Neil Phillips with Jared Gilmore and Phillips. PA will make the presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Everybody got their little blue books?
Yes.
All right, let's skip past the letter that's in there. We're going to dive straight into the audit report. Page 1, 2, and 3 is the independent auditor's report. The first paragraph talking about what we audited, being the city of Coffeyville as of December 31st, 2023. The second paragraph talks about the fact that you do have what they call an adverse opinion, because in the city we do not follow GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. We follow the Kansas regulatory basis of accounting. The slang term would be the Kansas cash basis and budget laws. Means you can't spend it if you don't have it in the fund, can't spend it if you don't have that public approval. So actually it's a pretty safe basis of accounting. But the third paragraph down there is what they call an unmodified opinion on the regulatory basis of accounting. So what that means to you is, based on the testing we did, we feel like you have a materially accurate representations of what happened during the year and how you ended the year without any further modification needed. So to put that in different terms, a lot of times you'll hear that slang term, a clean opinion. That's what you have here, is a clean opinion on your financial statements, meaning they're materially correct. Again, the official statement is unmodified, but slang would be clean opinion. The next section talks about the basis for that adverse opinion. The bottom of that page talks about management's responsibilities and the fact that everything in this audit document is yours. They're your numbers, your representations. The top of the next page talks about the auditor's responsibilities, talks about what our responsibility with the numbers is. And then the last couple paragraphs there talks about the supplemental information and talks about our responsibility with that supplemental information. As you read through that, you're going to see that we did perform audit procedures on all the information in here. There is a schedule that's in the very back that had limited procedures because it's got insurance information. We don't audit insurance and how your coverage is. You have an insurance agent that does that. But your bond agreement requires that we disclose that insurance information on that schedule. So you're going to see there's limited insurance on that, meaning we made sure it matched your policy and made sure that everything was reported correctly. So page 4 and 5 is actually where we spend the majority of our time with every audit that I do a presentation for. On page 4 and 5, statement number 1 it is defined by Kansas statute as a statement to show users at a glance that we're in compliance with the cash basis laws. If you look at the fourth column over, ending unencumbered cash, if any of those were negative, that would be a violation of Kansas statute, meaning we can't obligate more than what is in the fund. As you're glancing down through there, you are going to see that you do have one fund down there towards the bottom that is negative. But like every rule, there's an exception to the rule. If you have a signed grant agreement, a signed bond agreement, a signed capital lease agreement, like a grant per se, you've got to spend the money and wait for reimbursement. Well, the state of Kansas recognizes that as a rule with your federal monies or any grant monies. And so there is an exception out there that says you can go negative in that situation. When you're looking down through there, that one fund that is negative did qualify for that situation, meaning it was not a violation of Kansas statute, but you can see it was $9,756 down or in the hole at year end. Now, I like this statement, and those of you who've been on commission before, you're going to remember this from prior years. I really like this statement because it shows users, they hear that we have $62 million of cash. They want to know why we're not doing this or why we're not doing that. And this kind of helps break that down. Like the very top line is the general fund. You can see we started the year out, and I'm just going column by column. Unencumbered cash balance, or the cash carryover number, coming into 23 was $3.2 million. We brought in 15.1 and we spent 13.6 million. So actually carried into the new year $4,783,000. So an increase in our unencumbered cash balance. That's $4 million. That's the general fund, that's our police, that's our fire, that's our general administrative services, those types of items. But the next section is the special purpose funds. And those funds are collected for a purpose, meaning we can't spend them on anything else. Like the very top line is the library fund. We collect ad valorem taxes for the library, in which we get the money in, we turn around, pass that through to the library. We have a water line break, we have an electrical problem, we can't spend that money on anything except the library. And each of those different special purpose funds help define how that money has been collected and set aside for the said purpose. About halfway down the page there, you're going to see a bond and interest fund. You are required to transfer monies into a bond and interest fund to make your bond payments. Most of your bond agreements require that you make those monthly transfers so that the money's sitting in that account the month prior to you making that payment. You've got some capital project funds listed there. Those capital project funds are always specifically approved projects. Then at the very end of that, bottom of that page, is business funds. And they changed that name, it's been 5 or 7 years ago now, to business funds because they want you to realize, and all the users of our financial statements to realize, that our utility funds are set up as a business. There's actually a state statute out there that says once we pay all the bills of that utility fund, we can use the profit for whatever we see deemed necessary. In your case, like you transferred this last year, $2.4 million into your general fund. So that helps your citizens pay less property taxes by having some of those profits in that utility fund help pay for those expenses in another fund. So you are allowed to do what you want to do with those. But I do always caution utility funds. Our infrastructure in the state of Kansas is getting older and older. We were discussing the water plant earlier before the meeting. Our water plant's getting older. It takes a lot of money to replace a water plant. It's important that we do have cash carryover to be able to leverage to get dollars in here. You go out to get a grant, you've got to have dollars to help leverage. You get state funding, requires some leveraging in there. But I don't want to make too much light of that because if you look down at the very bottom line in the middle of page 5 there, you can see you started out the year with $58.9 million of unencumbered cash. Even though it's reserved in some of those different sections or special purpose type things. We brought in $112 million, spent 108, so actually ended the year with $62.2 million. So that's an increase in our unencumbered cash of $3.3 million. So you can see overall we had a good year as a city. Then we take, and in the last 2 columns, we add back the encumbrances or the accounts payable or those obligations because our Kansas cash basis includes obligations, so accounts payable. To get to a cash balance, and then down there at the bottom of page 5 is the reconciliation to the cash accounts that you have on hand at year end, which totaled $72 million after that $9.8 million of obligations. All right, page 6 gets into the words that back up the numbers. Footnote number 1, which goes on page 6, 7, and 8, and actually continues on to page 9, is really just talking about what the Kansas cash basis and budget laws are and how it differs from GAAP. GAAP would record a capital asset and depreciate it out over its useful life, or our infrastructure, or our roads, those types of things. It talks about those differences. You get into information that is specific to you on the bottom of page 9 where we talk about stewardship, compliance, and accountability. We talk about the statute that's out there that says that negative that was on statement 1 is not a violation. So we're trying to make sure everybody understands that $9,000 going negative was not a problem. All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to have us turn to page 13. I want to point out the long-term debt schedule there because those are not shown as those obligations up in Statement 1. Those obligations up in Statement 1 are things like accounts payable. So we pay in January some bills for services that were December, or even payroll. Sometimes we pay the January payroll. Our staff actually earned it in December. It gets put back against that budget, so because that commitment was made in December to pay those employees. This long-term debt is not in there. But as you're looking through there, it breaks it down by your general obligation bonds, your revenue bonds. You do have the 2 Kansas Public Water Supply loans, and then we do have a couple capital leases. They actually just call them financing leases now. They changed that name here this last year. But you can see we started out the year with $63 million of long-term debt. We issued $517,000 and paid it down by 3.1, so actually ended the year with $60.9 million of long-term debt. Now, if we look at the next page, we've got the payout of that long-term debt. And when you're going to see it here, it's in the next 5 years, then it's in 5-year chunks after that. And that's done because of most of your planning is done in 5-year phases as a city. But as you're glancing down through there, you can see, I'm looking at the bottom line, total principal and interest. You can see 2024, we have $6.1 million of long-term debt payments, 6.2 in 2025, but in 26 it goes down to 4.7, 4.8. That's because we pay that one revenue bond off, and it had some pretty high interest rates there with that revenue. You're going to save that $1.9 million in interest on that revenue bond once that pays off. So then you're going to be able to pay debt down a lot quicker. So that's a good thing there. All right, then, like I said, we're going to turn back to page, and if you do have questions about any of those pages, you feel free to let me know. But I'm going to have you flip all the way back to page 21. Page 21 is like statement number 1 that we talked about up in the front. This is called schedule number 1. And this is to show users at a glance that we're in compliance with the budget laws. So otherwise we had that public approval to spend the money. And the very first column is your total certified budget. That would be the published budget. So you can see like the top line is the general fund. We had a published budget of 15.3. We got a few refunds. Refunds count and extend your budget in the year received. So we have a total budget for comparison of 15.5. We actually spent 13.6. So you were actually under budget by $1,897,000. So a good thing. That's one of those other reasons we've seen that increase in our general fund with our cash carryover number. But as you glance down through that last column, I know negative's a good thing in this case. Negative means you're under budget. So as you're glancing down through there, you can see that all of your funds were actually under budget, under the public approved budget. So that's another positive to see there. Yes, sir.
Are they too under budget?
No.
Okay.
That would be my first, without analyzing each individual one. But my first inclination would be no. Because Kansas requires you to do what they call a zero-based budgeting. They want you to budget every dollar that you have. But we've got to have cash carryover.
Yes.
And so we budget a little bit high so that we do have that cash carryover. But yet we still have the authority to spend it if we had to. You know, our first general fund tax payment doesn't come till the end of January. So that $4 million that we're carrying over in the general fund, we've got to have cash carryover or else we can't pay those bills in January.
Yep.
Now that $4 million that we talked about earlier, we calculated a while ago in our meeting, Ben, we met earlier, that's about 4 months of expenses. So that's the general fund sitting in a very positive position. You've been able to increase that general fund over the last few years. That is a positive. The trend is up with your unencumbered cash.
Thank you.
Page 22 through the rest of the document. I'm not going to go page by page, but you've got, this is the detail to everything that I've just been telling you. Like the general fund is the very first page. Top line is property taxes. We put a prior year comparison in there. In 2022, you collected $2,009,821 of property taxes from our citizens. In 2023, which is the next column over, we collected $2,171,000, but you actually levied $2,364,000, which is the budget column. So that $193,000 that shows up in that last column, that's our citizens that did not pay their property taxes last year. Now the hope is, the next line down is delinquent taxes. The hope is that $193,000 of people that did not pay their property taxes are going to pay them in the year 24, and they're going to come in on that delinquent taxpayer line. You can see we collected $134,000 of delinquent taxes in 23 for taxes that didn't get paid in prior years. As you go through these pages, you're going to see that these follow the state budgeting format. So when you approve, you have your public hearing and you approve your budget, it's going to be on the state forms. This format follows those state forms. You know, in-house, you have a lot more detail. Contractual, commodities, you're going to see supplies, you're going to see all these other items. We have personnel, contractual, commodities, because that's what's required at the state level. The only fund that I thought we ought to look at is if we flip back, I am going to point out, we talked about it during our meeting earlier, page 53 and 54 is the electric utility fund. And I'm looking on page 54, if you look 3 lines up from the bottom, our electric utility fund unencumbered or cash carryover number did decrease by $1,094,000. But right above that, if you look at those last 4 lines of transfers, those are our transfers out to other funds. We transferred $2.4 million, almost $2.5 million into the general fund from our electric fund. We had our debt service, which is pretty much a required transfer. You transferred a little bit of money into surplus, a savings account per se, and then the R&I reserves fund also. So transferring some money into reserves. If you take those transfers out, well, let's back that up. Let's take out the general fund and then the 2 savings account monies that we transferred out. We had about a $3.2 million increase there. But we did make that transfer to the general fund because it does need it. So, but I wanted to point that out to you because I believe you're going to talk about that quite a bit when you get to your budgeting process. So, what kind of questions do you have of me of that? There is a separate letter that is in commission packets only. This letter is what they call a letter to those charged with governance. It's not a letter that goes out to the public, doesn't go to our grantors, doesn't go to anybody else except for you, because it is a letter to those charged with governance. Now, in the past, we would have orally came to talk to you if we had any problems. As you read through there, it says difficulties with management, difficulties in performing your audit. You're going to see a paragraph about consulting outside accountants because you're doing something crazy with your records. I'm kind of making light of this letter because it is a boilerplate letter because we didn't have any of those kind of things that needed to be disclosed here. But, you know, we get legal involved and we have to put it in writing to say we didn't have any of these issues or these problems as you read through that. But it is important that you do read through it because it is a letter to those charged with governance. Then the next couple pages is actually the adjustments from where the numbers where you last seen them to how they show up in the audit. And then after that is what they call the management representation letter, and which that is the representations that have been made between the auditor and management. In the past, it used to be signed between the auditor and management. Commission never seen it. We're required to give you a copy of it so you can see what representations have been made. I like to refer to it as the reminder letter because as management reads through it, they should have told the auditor about everything that's in that letter. Now, it is a boilerplate letter because we didn't have any of those items that needed to be disclosed here, but it says there was no fraud, there was no material conflicts of interest, there was no problems with the IRS. You know, I'm kind of making light of the letter. It's 4 pages long. There's a lot of representations that are made there, but it is boilerplate. Literally, I hit print, changed the name, hit print, and we printed it out for management to sign. And they've already signed that and provided it back to us. That's part of the audit process. Like I said, I always call it the reminder letter because you should have told me everything that's in that letter.
How would you describe the overall health, financial health of the city of Coffeyville?
Very good. We were discussing that earlier in the meeting that we had here on Coffeyville is one of the better cities that we do deal with. You've got some cash that's built up over years, Like I said, auditors, we like to see you building cash because we know you're going to have infrastructure costs. We know, it just takes that one lift station that you have to bring in the special truck for because the pump's too far down into the ground. It's going to cost you $80,000. Those things are going to happen. So we've got to have cash on hand to be able to take care of those kind of situations. So you're setting in a very positive position, in my opinion.
Thank you.
No, I'm good, thank you.
I had a question. I can't remember what page it was on. There was one debt, and it had
That'd be
pretty
page
high
13.
interest rate.
On which one?
It had a pretty high interest rate, 6.63, 6.33.
Was it the golf carts?
Golf
Those are
carts.
golf carts.
Yeah.
Well, and even the Series 2015B electric utility, that was
5 to
Over
5.25.
5%.
What page are you on there, Ellen?
13.
13.
Page 13.
And it said date of issue to June 25th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So my question on that was, it brought to mind was, between 2015 and about 2020, there were low interest rates, correct?
Well, that would be a bond council question. They would be the ones to come to you and recommend when to refinance. I don't know the situation. We'd actually have to pull the bond agreement, but a lot of times when we sign those bond agreements, there's a callable provision in there about when you can call those bonds and refinance them or do whatever we need to do with it. Now, the 2015, I believe that was the one. Those are some of the electric projects that you had going on, and that was one of them that was covered with that surety bond.
Yep.
So that if you would have had,
Okay.
if the large manufacturer, Coffeyville Resources, we all know that, would fail to make their payment to you, you have a bond in place that would help make that payment. So you have some guarantee there for some of that long-term debt.
Everything else seemed in line, it just seemed, that one stood out.
Yeah, and like I said, it does pay off in 2025, and that's going to save you about $2 million of interest expense there,
Yep.
being at 5%.
And the 2011 is paid off?
Yeah, it paid off in 23, yes, the 2011.
Just last summer.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Deal.
Okay, thank you.
But bond counsel usually is pretty good about coming to you and saying, hey, these are callable now. You could save this much by refinancing. Go ahead and defease them. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah.
The one that would concern me would be the golf carts. With the cash you have sitting on hand, I personally, it's not an audit recommendation because the auditor can't make those kind of recommendations, but 6% is pretty high with the cash you have. I could see trying to
I
pay
was gonna
those
ask that,
off, but that's a management decision
we'll
that's gonna have to be
discuss.
discussed
Discuss
with
that.
management,
We will discuss.
not the auditor. I can't make those kind of decisions.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm
good.
good.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
All right, next item is,
No.
do we have,
We need to
he just,
approve it.
no, we're getting here. It just said,
Okay.
it's
never
just a
mind. Sorry.
report.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Good to make sure.
Getting ahead of myself.
Next item is old business, second reading of ordinance G-24-04, an ordinance to adopt the 2024 Uniform Public Offense Code. Do we have any questions for that?
Move to approve second reading of ordinance G 2404 as presented.
Second.
I'm sorry, was that Faulkner or Maples? Faulkner.
Flip a coin.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Vice Mayor Faulkner to approve the second reading of ordinance G-24-04 as presented. Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Next item, second reading of ordinance G-24-05, an ordinance to adopt the 2024 standard traffic ordinance.
I will move to approve our second reading of ordinance G24-05 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Maples to approve the second reading of ordinance G-24-05 as presented. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Next item, we have second reading of ordinance S-24-03, an ordinance establishing the Coffeyville Plaza Community Improvement District, authorizing the making of certain improvement projects relating thereto, approving the estimated cost of such project improvements, levying a 1% CID sales tax, providing for the method of financing the same, and authorizing the execution of a development agreement relating thereto.
Commissioners, we can call a representative of the property owner if questions will arise. Would you like to do that?
Yes. I still have a question that I don't, from the last meeting, that I don't think was sufficiently answered.
This is Rob.
Hi, Rob. This is Ben Brubaker, City Manager at Coffeyville. We are on this item right now and have some commissioners with questions.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Excuse me, this is Commissioner Faulkner. At the last meeting, I asked you if all of the retail tenants on the property had been notified about the 1% increase. And you responded, I felt, with the legal response, which was the property owners had been notified. And there's only one property owner, and that's you who initiated the CID. So again, I ask you, have all of the tenants been advised of the proposed 1% increase?
Yeah, so let me introduce myself before we get started. My name is Rob Preston. I'm an attorney for the developer, law offices of Spencer Fane. I spoke to the client at length today, the developer, to confirm this. All of the, it's my understanding each of the retail tenants has been notified that this application is pending.
And what was their response individually?
I don't know if they were necessarily prompted for a response. They were just notified that it was that this was a pending application, and that the result would be twofold. First, of course, would be an additional 1% tax that would be added to the existing taxes payable at this retail center. But the other side was that the resulting revenue could potentially finance some much needed upgrades to the shopping center, including a brand new parking lot overlay, streetscape beautification, updated mechanicals, some facade improvements and such, as well as the much of these improvements have been required by not one but two national type tenants that would like to move in to the center if it can be updated. And I think I think the existing tenants would benefit from the additional foot traffic throughout this center in particular. And,
All right, thank you.
The total cost of the renovations is listed at $2 million, is that correct?
yes.
Of that $2 million, how much is the property owner kicking in?
The property owner at this point has at least $300,000 of their own equity planned into the capital stack, which is basically the amount they felt that they could finance through the existing revenue streams from this particular shopping center.
That $300,000 is to renovate a portion of the center to bring in the tenant they already have under contract, correct?
The one tenant is under contract, but there's a contingency for the improvements to be made that the pending application would finance.
So I'll ask my question again. I suddenly find myself feel like I'm in Congress. The $300,000 is part of that contract to renovate the particular part of the shopping center that tenant is going to locate in, correct?
I'm having difficulty hearing the question.
Can you repeat it, Ben?
So.
I think what he's asking, if I could put words in your mouth.
Let Ben talk.
Repeat it. Let
Okay,
Ben repeat it.
go ahead.
So I believe the question is, the $300,000 that you're saying is budgeted is specifically going to the site that the tenant with a contract currently in place. So it's not to the overall property, it's specific to that tenant coming in. Is that correct?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be evasive. I was straining to hear. So it doesn't exactly work like that. The way the financing mechanism works is that the city isn't advancing any funds whatsoever. The developer will advance all of the money, the whole $2 million, or however much the final budget costs, as the plans are still being finalized through the needs of the national tenants. And then the developer will be reimbursed if the upgrades are successful and bring new life to the shopping center, creating enhanced sales tax revenue. That 1% sales tax revenue would be used then to reimburse the developer, and they're very much aware that they're very unlikely to receive full reimbursement, and planning on at least $300,000 being going unreimbursed.
Okay, yeah.
Did that answer the question?
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but my point is, I don't see that the developer is putting any skin in the game towards the $2 million to renovate the property in whole. They've got a contract with a national company to locate in the facility. And when you're running I've dealt with this before. When you have a business and you're getting ready to locate into a shopping strip, they've got to put down flooring that's specific to your business. You may want carpet. The previous tenant may have had tile, or vice versa. Walls have to be moved and painted, and the property owner makes those renovations as part of the contract to bring that tenant in. And what I'm saying is, as I recall the conversation 2 weeks ago, we were told that $300,000 is going towards that particular tenant's spot in the shopping center. My point is, I don't see out of the $2 million renovation project for the property as a whole that the property owner is putting any skin in the game at all.
I can respond to that a little bit. The developer is putting all the money in, right? No one else is, at this point at least, is advancing any funds, and the developer will be reimbursed over the long life of the CID if and to the extent that it's successful in generating sales tax revenue. So they're very much putting skin in the game and taking the risk that this project doesn't generate the sales tax revenue necessary to repay all of these exterior capital improvements.
So to make sure we're clear, what you're suggesting is that the $2 million will be coming from the property owner, the developer, and that their reimbursement will be if people come and shop and if the sales tax works. So you're saying skin in the game, meaning they are paying the bill, the sales tax reimbursed them over the 22 years.
That's right.
Are you saying that the developer, the language you're using, the developer is the property owner, or are those two
Yes.
separate entities?
Same thing.
So the owner is fronting the entire $2 million
Yes.
himself?
Well, I'm sure it's a corporation.
Yeah.
And I have a
Corporation.
question, but I understand where Commissioner Edwards is coming from, that typically a private entity would build a building to rent out and typically would not be relying on a local sales tax to fund it. It's a private enterprise business. With that, I wanted to ask, how did they arrive at the 1% sales tax number versus, say, a quarter cent or half cent? They obviously
Sure.
they had some assumptions
I
or
can give a little
projections.
insight into that. So the Kansas SID Act provides up to a 2% sales tax, and certainly a 2% would have paid off the developer / owner more quickly, but they didn't want to put an additional 2% burden on the retail shoppers of the existing tenants, including the grocery store, as well as the new tenants that we're hopeful to bring to the center as a result of these improvements. I think they felt that they needed the 1% in order to have a reasonable chance of recouping the investment over the life of the CID. And to be clear as well, it's not a blank check, right? Once they're paid off, the CID goes away.
Yeah.
Once they are reimbursed for the eligible expenses that are incurred.
Okay, my next question related to the finances, the calculation or their assumptions, were they assuming that the shopping center would remain maybe half empty? And if every storefront was full at some point in the near year's future, would they reconsider dropping that sales tax if they are getting more money in rent from all the storefronts being occupied?
Yes. I guess that could be part of the equation. It's a sliding scale, certainly. I hear what you're saying. I guess they could certainly entertain a discussion about reducing the sales tax, or alternatively, they would just, pay themselves off more quickly, and the additional sales tax would go away.
Would they use additional rent from additional businesses coming in to do that, or put it towards the $2 million if the shopping center became full with tenants? My point is trying to get faster to the point of reducing that sales tax burden on that shopping center.
Yes, in kind of calculating this out, the developer was very mindful of, a couple things. One is, just not only these two national tenants that will likely, bring significant shoppers to the shopping center and generate the 1% sales tax, but also, of course, remember, every dollar or every $100 of sales to the shopping center, $1 would go to the developer, but all the remaining sales tax dollars are still collected and dispersed to the existing taxing districts, including
Correct.
the city,
We're aware of
state,
that.
et cetera. They do think that these improvements are going to totally reactivate this center, that it's going to go from a 50% occupancy up to, hopefully 100% occupancy or thereabouts. and also not just, have a linear increase in sales based on, filling up that empty square footage, but the existing tenants, the pie will get bigger by virtue of, more people visiting the center and patronizing other tenants, not just, incidentally then, sort of a more broad community benefit, just bringing more shoppers to this part of town will certainly benefit this shopping center, but
My next question.
other retailers and service providers nearby.
Okay. Going forward with this project, how often would we get numbers as to what's happening?
Every month.
Every month.
Every month?
Every month.
Well,
We
when
would get the
we are-
numbers? No, I mean on this CID.
Every month.
Every month.
It would be in the
It's
list?
sales tax. It comes from the
Right.
state.
Yeah, it shows up in there. Remember the Holiday Inn one shows up in there.
Okay.
Yeah, you get it every month. You always know what the balance is and
Yeah.
what's been applied to
And
there.
then what's been
Yeah,
expended
yeah.
and, okay. I guess
And
we'll
just
watch that
for
closely.
everyone's consideration also, just consider the fact, the discussion is necessary, but if you go to King's Food Saver and you buy $100 worth of groceries, we're talking about $1.
Correct.
Yep.
We're just talking about $1.
Yep.
And that's why I asked the question if later this really got going well, if possibly entertain the idea of dropping that down to a half cent
I
or
would
quarter
think
cent.
I would think that if it starts going well, that means more money comes to them, and you would not take up the whole 22 years to be
You'd pay
paid
it off
back.
quicker.
And then
Sunsets
you'd want to
quicker.
get rid
Well,
of the
and
sales
that's why I
tax.
was asking the question, is they
Yeah,
get
I mean,
more and
that
more.
would be the smartest, I
Yeah.
would think, as a business, that you'd want to do is get rid of that.
Yeah.
And get yourself reimbursed
Well, and
quicker.
that's
And be
why I
done
was
with it.
asking, as more tenants come and they get more rent money from that, will they apply some of that extra, say, unexpected rent money from their assumptions towards the 2 million and not only just the sales tax to the $2 million project?
Maybe
money?
or maybe not, but you
Yeah.
still get paid off quicker.
Quicker.
Well, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
The bottom line is,
Yeah, it is not, I don't think it's the developer's intention to use any of the rents
Right.
to reimburse the reimbursable expenses certified through the city
Right.
under the CID Act.
the bottom line, whether we like it or not, this CID was just passed recently in the last few years by the state as a funding mechanism for things like this. And personally, I would rather the property owner, if they need more money to raise the rent on their tenants, as opposed to do this directly to the citizens. But even though the CID funding mechanism is only a few years old, it's in practice already all across the state of Kansas, spreading like wildfire. And this is unfortunately just one of those things that, we can stand by our principles and say, no, I don't like this, I'm not going to do it, in which you're going to continue to have a dying shopping strip, which already has the headwind of not being located near Walmart against it. And it does, these people sell it to somebody else, then they sell it to somebody else, then they sell it, and it just continues to deteriorate. Or we can bite our lip and approve something like this and, go with the flow. We can stand on our principles all day long and end up becoming a retail desert. And I don't love this. I don't even like it. But this is just, things have changed, and this is what it takes these days to rejuvenate shopping strips like this and to get retailers. And, in the end, if we don't do this, we're running the risk of, we already know that they're losing one tenant in that shopping strip, and they could lose the two that they've got on the hook. So, we have to balance this stuff on the whole, and although I don't like it, I'll move to approve second reading of ordinance S-2403 as presented.
I'll second.
Because I'm ready to get it going.
All right.
Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by
Thank you, Rob.
Commissioner Maples, to approve the second reading of ordinance S-24-03 as presented. Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks?
Aye.
Thank you, have a good night.
Next up for new business is Resolution R-24-55, a resolution to award a construction contract to CDL Electric for the Streetlight KCC Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Project. Superintendent of Electric Distribution, Steve Pratt, will make comments and answer any questions. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is exciting for the electric department. The background on this, in May of '24, the city of Coffeyville was awarded the Kansas Corporation Commission Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, amounting to $608,596.07. On May 29th, the city issued a request for bids, with CDL Electric being the lowest bidder. The grant was provided, the grant is providing 100% funding. Staff recommends to award the labor contract to CDL Electric and issue the notice of award. I also wanted to throw in there that the KCC has let us know that if the amount on the first project is less than what the total amount they have in this, that we can utilize it for other lights. So,
Good.
That number will go up.
yes.
The number of places.
There's,
Yeah.
we have plenty of places that are not considered street lights, but there's still lights for parks and things like that.
Right.
I just want to commend staff for this project, the grant writer, Amber, and you and your work with her to get this. This is tremendous to get this grant. And any questions from commissioners? I do.
What's the, is there a relative increase in brightness of these new street lights as opposed to the old ones?
Well, we've had studies and we have had companies who, when we made our transition to LEDs, we wanted to make sure that they put out the same kind of light, brightness-wise. We had to fool around with it quite a bit because if you take a 250 watt sodium, you might be using a 60 watt or an 80 watt LED. So we had to install different ones until we got happy with what we had. You have different lights on 8th Street that you have on 11th Street. So it's a different kind of light. I mean, people, I don't hear a lot of complaints. It's a brighter, wider light, and more efficient. Saves money, so.
That's
And
anything.
if you need some more locations, I've had some citizens ask me about, there's some dark places in some neighborhoods instead of just having a couple on a street corner, like in between the street corners on more major thoroughfares. There was another light in the middle. That's another question. But one more question I have is, this is to award a grant to install the lights, correct?
Yes, this will be done by contractors, so.
And my question is this work our electric department could do? And if they could, does the grant allow to pay our electric crew to do the same work if that were possible, or is it required that we contract this out per grant rules?
My understanding, and Amber could tell you more than I could, but my understanding was that a lot of these grants are to hire contractors to get the work done because you may not have the people to get this accomplished.
So they want it done in a timely manner.
Right.
Then whatever, I'm not saying,
Right.
I'm just saying, they probably have that protocol.
Intent to supplement versus for you to be able to go do, because
Right.
they're assuming that your time and effort throughout your electric grid is being used elsewhere. And so this is trying to help supplement and support. So the intent was to go out and get bids, not to just turn it over.
Our linemen and electricians are swamped. To install 400 lights would take some time, but I did a little figuring, and it's just kind of off the top of my head, but with the money that's left over, and I've kind of, Melissa even figured out down to the tape, the connectors, the any kind of hardware that was involved in the actual installment of the light, the city purchased everything so we could save money. We wanted to be as efficient and try to do the most we could do with this grant. With what we have left over, just we could possibly have, close to $270,000 left over. So depending on what kind of lights that we choose to put in, if they were all residential lights, which is some of the cheaper ones, we could add up to possibly 700 more lights into our system. So the lights that we're putting in right now, from the Cobra Head 250s to 150s to rental lights, which are up and over $400 a piece, these were some of the most expensive lights of the 5 or 6 that were chosen. So with residential areas, you could generally we'll have a light on a corner, in the middle, and on the corner. That's how it's kind of been set up. Some areas are better than others, but
Okay. So my next question is, these are mechanical things, these are electrical things, and we're buying a lot of them. Statistically, some of them could fail. Is the grant going to allow some to be kept as spares for replacements? And how would we buy the same style, light, brightness, color, say in the next 5 years, X number of them fail, and we can put the same type kind right back in? Or are these warranted, where the company would send new ones? Or
yeah, these are all stock items that we use. This is why we chose them. We didn't want to go outside of the AEL brands, which we use, or Cooper. We've had good luck with them. They have warranties when we install these. The contractors will have a year. They will give us a year on their workmanship if there's a problem. These lights will be marked so we know which ones were installed by who. If we have a fault, I'd simply take them to local dealers who will send them off. They'll give us a new one.
do you know the warranty period on the light itself?
I know that we've used these warranties up to a year. Generally, if you have a problem, it's up to that, it's within that 1 year. Of course, lightning or anything, is variables, but these guys, we buy a lot of lights from them. I haven't had one yet that they wouldn't accept back.
Well, that's good news.
Okay. And I think it may have been in there, but we're
We
looking too
couldn't find
fast.
it.
We're looking too fast. What is the total that you've actually spent on the materials so far?
The total amount that we spent on materials is $163,806.
Okay.
So along
Okay.
with their labor of CDL of $175, it came to $338,815.79.
Okay. And so your engineer's estimate, I noticed, was $445, so you are considerably under. And
Yeah.
your grant money, that you have left.
And that includes,
Hopefully. I know
duplex
that-
wire and
Right.
replacing what's needed. I mean, by the time we're done, we want it to be everything new. Some of that stuff's been up there for a long time, and we'll take advantage of everything we can
To
on
do
this.
that. Okay. All right. Good. Sounds like a good thing to me.
Thanks for the info,
You're welcome.
answering questions.
If there's no further questions, I will move to approve Resolution R-24-55 as presented.
Second?
Motion is made by motion is made by Commissioner Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve Resolution R-24-55 as presented. Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Next up is Resolution R-24-56, a resolution to approve additional funding for seal coat on runway 422 at the Coffeyville Municipal Airport. Director of Airport Services, Jared Powers, will make comments and answer any questions.
Mayor and Commissioners,
Good evening.
on October 11th of 2022, Commission approved to apply for a KDOT grant to crack, seal, and repaint runway 422 and repaint runway 1735. The grant cost total was $565,000 with a sponsor match of $52,750. And on February 15th of 2023, the city received notice that we were awarded this grant. Since that time, we have seen a rapid deterioration of the surface seal coat. We received bids on July 11th of 2024 with an add alternate to apply an additional seal coat in the cost of $38,250. This seal coat would add an extended life to the runway. Highlight Airfield Services was a low bidder and was highly recommended by our airport engineer, Lochner. If this seal coat is not done, the condition of the surface would force us to close the runway in 3 to 5 years, in my and Lochner's opinion. Staff recommends additional funding for the seal coat of runway 422 in the amount of $38,250. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And just to maybe add, Jared, our requirements under FFA grants and things in the past, closing is not necessarily options here, so we need to keep...
Not really, but the only funding source we have for this runway is KDOT. FAA will not fund, so this is the only way unless we want to spend it all out of... Normally, this seal coat would cost about $125,000. Our bids came in so low that the money that you already approved, the match money, we were able to do this for just $38,000 instead of the $120,000.
Will this seal coat can you guarantee that it will prevent foreign object damage to jet engines?
I cannot guarantee that. What they're going to do is they're going to router all the cracks, and they're going to crack seal those with a emulsion, and then they'll come back and put this seal coat over it that does all the smaller cracks and seals the surface. It will not be any loose gravel or foreign object
So there won't be any foreign objects?
No, it's
on the
a
surface?
Black Beauty seal coat. It's what
All
we
right.
have on there now.
Thank you.
It's just old.
It'll look like a new parking lot.
It will, yes.
All right, thank you.
One question I have, while we are doing this, looking at this, have you looked at the runway? Are there some cracks that maybe are a little bumpy or rough for
On-
airplanes running over there? Can we take this
On
opportunity to...
1735?
No, on 422.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty
It
smooth
means
when they
smooth
get
out
done.
some of the, if there's pavement separation, grind it smooth.
Yeah, a lot of
make it
that is where
level
the seal
before-
coat came off, and it makes a little divot in it. They're gonna reapply that and then go over all of it with the seal coat.
Okay.
Well, and I even mean where cracks are in maybe the pavement is separated, raised, lifted from everywhere.
I haven't noticed any raising and lifting, but we'll look at that.
Will this seal extend just on the existing runway, or will it extend to the additional 12 and a half feet on each side that we've discussed before?
This is only on runway 422. Runway 1735 is the one that they will not fund that additional 25 feet. That will be, in the next couple of years, we're applying for a grant to resurface that runway.
Okay, so the state said no on that.
Yes, I think we did not get the grant for the 25 feet on that runway, but we're going to reapply in September.
Okay.
We don't want to lose that 25 feet.
No.
No.
Move to approve Resolution R2456 as presented.
Second.
Was that Commissioner Maples? Second, thank you. Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Commissioner Maples to approve Resolution R-24-56 as presented. Commissioner Maples?
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Faulkner?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Next up is Resolution R-24-57, a resolution to authorize the purchase of an Elgin Broom Badger Street Sweeper and Titan Leaf Pro from Key Equipment and Supply for the Public Service Department. Director of Public Service Bobby Joe Pash will make comments and answer any questions.
And let me jump in, Commissioners. The reason this is on here this evening, 2 weeks ago, we had some commissioners ask, hey, there's a need. we want to talk about this sooner. This was a budgeted item for next year, but it is on here at commission request for this conversation today.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Yes, I'm looking for approval to purchase a new street sweeper as well as a leaf vacuum. Two separate pieces of machinery. They do make a vacuum sweeper. It is much more pricey. And with these two items, you can get the same problems taken care of. But the problem with our current sweeper, and that's where most of the questions are going to come from, I'm going to assume, is that it is old, it is outdated, it is hard to find parts for it is hard to get it worked on, which is why currently it is not moving and needs to be replaced. To maybe answer some of those questions before you ask them,
Did I understand the documentation, there's only one guy in California that knows how to repair these things?
the company that made our street sweeper has been sold to a different company that is based out of California. In that company, there's one individual that has been around this particular model, nobody else. It's a 15-year-old model. It's just outdated and nobody builds them anymore or works on them. We've actually shipped it off to Wichita at one point a month ago. They came down, hauled it out there, kept it for 3 weeks, hauled it back, did not invoice us because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it to do anything to it.
So what's the viability of the current company that we're
They are
proposing?
based out of Wichita. They are local. They have stuff in Tulsa. They have stuff in Joplin. So parts are easier, parts are quicker.
Well, that's the dealership. Do you know where this is made?
No, not off the top of my
Okay.
head, but if you give me a minute, I might be able to find that answer.
I think he's trying to figure out if this is going to happen again
Yeah,
in 15 years.
That's
Well,
the
but if
question.
it's 15
not.
years
So-
old, it's time
Well,
to look at a new
never
one
know.
anyway.
Yeah,
15 years
Who-
to me
You work for
isn't
John
that
Deere.
old.
Who
And
are you
even
working
with-
for in 10 years?
yeah,
Yeah, you don't have a clue.
I
yeah.
mean,
There- That's a chance
That's a
in
lot
today's
of
world.
ifs.
That is a chance that the company doesn't get sold again and then
Right.
resold
Yeah.
after
We
that.
have no control
So
over
that's
that.
another thing, but being based out of Wichita, I would think
But
Yeah.
parts are available.
more readily available, yes, sir.
Right now.
Along with more qualified technicians. Yes, our guys can handle most of the stuff, but when it becomes electrical, so our old street sweeper is probably got 9 to 12 different switches in it. This has got 6.
What would it take to have one of our own staff members trained in how to maintain and repair this unit?
This unit, our guys could take care of this unit. It's minimal. There's, like I say, there's only 6 switches that control the brooms. The old one, there's 12. It's a ladder-driven chute. Back to just regular brooms, it's got a rear broom on it it's not a solid polymer broom. It's got layers that you put into it, which lasts longer, actually easier to replace as well. Maintenance on it is much easier. So even with our old sweeper, the fact that it won't start means you can't raise the hopper to work on the engine. So that's a whole nother problem in itself.
Okay, thank you.
How long has the current sweeper been out of service? Couple months?
Month and a half, couple months at least. Now, along with, so the addition of the leaf vac, leaves are a problem with street sweeper. I don't care what kind of street sweeper you got, they're a problem. This way it eliminates that. It's a pull-behind vacuum. We already have an enclosed truck. It'd be easy enough to hook it up with. 3 people, you're off and running.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Originally, you were going to budget this for next year for purchase in January? Was that the
Yes.
plan?
Yes.
Original plan?
Shane, you want to come up here? Because originally, I thought the money was budgeted for this year, but I'm not totally for
My-
sure.
My next
Okay.
question is just, not that these models change or things change in them, but
Change a lot.
if you would talk to the manufacturer, is there anything better in a 2025 model that they fixed, that they've had issues in the 2024 model?
That's going to depend on the type of sweepers you're looking at. So even with the vacuum sweepers were initially made for runways. Nice smooth surface, air hits the ground, everything bounces back up, works great on runways. But you put it on a street,
Right.
It depends on whether or not there's wheel ruts, whether or not there's holes, all that other stuff.
I'm just saying this model, that the street sweeper you're buying or recommending to buy today, is there anything from the manufacturer that they may have told you that if you ask, they might tell you the 2025 model will have this much better features, this little thing,
I'm
it may
sure
be
if
this
you was
much
to
more
ask the
cost.
salesman that question, they would say yes.
Yes.
Sure,
The
because it'd be more
2025
expensive
model.
and they want to.
Well, the question is, that doesn't mean
Is it gonna be the same
they're going to
basic
raise the
sweeper?
price. It could be the same price, but there could be,
Have you ever bought a car from one year to the next, it's the same price?
well,
That
in my
doesn't
world
happen.
that I know, there could be an issue that they're going to fix in the next model year.
Right.
That's my question.
With this type of sweeper, they're, I don't want to say basic, but they're basic sweepers. 2 brooms, ladder chute, rear broom, and that's all it takes. Our old one is a whole lot more than that. Same basic components, but
A lot more complicated, so there's a lot more to
So I
go
take it
wrong.
if this gets used a lot, we may need to budget for a replacement broom, rotary broom.
I
brush.
personally, yeah, the gutter brooms and the rear broom, they're a constant fix, whether it's the old sweeper, whether it's 10 years ago, whether it's next year.
How much are those?
I have no idea off the top of my
Okay.
head.
One more. Does this, I know we have ordinance and we see people mowing yards and the grass going into the gutter. But what about leaf issues, leaf pickup in the fall?
I would love to institute some sort of program with that. We've never had a leaf vacuum.
Good.
With a leaf vacuum, we could institute something.
That
I
would be
think that would be
amazing.
very good
Would be
bottom
So,
line.
amazing.
so
Yeah.
we could just shove our leaves to the street?
Yes.
So you'd have dedicated
Now, a street sweeper
times.
will not go by and pick up anything like that. It's been
Right.
tried multiple times by me multiple times. It doesn't work. It leaves a nice pile at the end of the intersection when you get there. But with just leaf vac, yeah, you bring all your leaves out to the curb, we come by, suck them up, throw them in the truck, go down, come back, keep going.
All right.
So I
That
see
would be
you
amazing.
instituting a plan where certain streets or certain areas, certain
Certain
days,
neighborhoods, yes.
people do this,
Yes.
and that would help, I think,
They would help immensely.
that
with
would
the
help
street
a
sweeper.
lot, and it'd make things look a lot better,
And
too.
in particular, west part of town, center part of town where there's multiple trees.
Yes.
'Cause I know everybody knows Fourth Street gets a lot, Fifth Street gets a lot. But yeah, it would make the street sweeping a lot easier in those areas.
And then look better.
It'd be
Okay.
nice.
It'd be
Thank you.
nice, thank you.
Well,
Go
if
ahead.
there's no other
This does
questions.
come out of the wastewater budget, if you understand.
Yeah.
Stormwater.
Stormwater, excuse me. So although the operators are on the left here,
Right.
the reward because of the budget, maybe Shane, you could
Yeah.
speak to that.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is it comes out of stormwater's budget because, I mean, it does beautify the streets, but it keeps the debris out of the stormwater
Right.
collection system.
Absolutely.
Right.
And plus, the only thing stormwater does is fits the bill, they maintain it, take care of it, operate it. That's all I got to add to that.
You said there's a
just
point
supplied
system,
the money,
Shane.
Shane.
It gives him points with KDHE.
There it is.
Yes.
And-
There you go.
Right.
If they sweep 10% of the streets every year, we get points towards our MS4 permit.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of debris that goes in the gutter.
Yeah.
That I don't think people realize when you put those notices out every spring about mowing and doing that, I don't think they realize what it does cause for you when they do that.
Can you-
And, yes,
And back to the broom issue, we have upgraded brooms. We use a metal gutter broom now. It lasts longer. The
Okay.
rear brooms are still polymer, but they have improvement as well.
Shane, can you quickly explain what you just said about the points with KDHE? And-
KDHE, the Stormwater Department has a permit from KDHE. We have certain areas, actually 5 areas, that we got points that we got to collect through. You know, sometimes we'll have a special meeting to, informational meeting that's open to the public. We'll have, we inspect inlets, we walk the creek, the little placards that you guys may have seen that this drain goes to the river. We got to do we get points for all of them things activities we do throughout the year. And there's a certain minimum criteria that we got to meet throughout the year. And the street sweeper gives us points towards that minimum criteria.
good.
And there's several. I mean, there's a list, a very long list of activities the Stormwater Department does to meet all the minimum requirements for that permit.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
There was somebody
I
starting to
was
speak down
trying.
there.
Okay, thank you, though. I would move to approve Resolution R-24-57 as presented.
And I'll second it. Thank you.
Motion is made by Commissioner Maples, seconded by Commissioner Van Oster to approve Resolution R-24-57 as presented. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
And Ben,
Thank you.
as an addendum to this discussion, I'd point out that I have seen, maybe several of us have seen, grass going into the gutter where there were city contractors mowing vacant yards. And if you would, just please make sure that does not happen.
All right.
Continuing.
Thank you, Mr. George and Bobby Joe. Resolution R-24-58, a resolution to authorize a donation to the Coffeyville Aviation Heritage Museum to assist in the sponsorship to bring the CAF Rise Above exhibit to Coffeyville, Kansas. City Clerk Melissa Carter will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this evening I am requesting a donation be made to the Coffeyville Aviation Heritage Museum to help sponsor bringing the CAF Rise Above exhibit to Coffeyville. CAF stands for Commemorative Air Force. They are a nonprofit organization that is a volunteer-driven educational outreach program that aims to inspire young people to overcome adversity. The program shares the history and legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen and the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASPs, through a variety of initiatives. Coffeyville has a personal connection with 6 Tuskegee Airmen from Montgomery County and Mildred Mickey Tuttle Axton, a pioneering WASP test pilot. The exhibit the Aviation Museum is looking to bring to Coffeyville includes a mobile theater, which will show the Rise Above short film, and a P-51C Mustang that will be on display at the Coffeyville Municipal Airport. The exhibit will run from October 3rd to October 6th. I feel this educational and motivational exhibit will be an enriching experience for the Coffeyville community and surrounding areas, will inspire future generations, and will draw people to visit Coffeyville. The donation of $4,300 that I'm requesting would give $3,000 towards the sponsorship of bringing the exhibit to Coffeyville, and $1,300 will go to fuel for the P-51C Mustang. Lisa Brookover is here with the Aviation Heritage Museum Board and would be happy to go into more detail about the exhibit and answer any questions you may have.
Just a little bit of what we've been up to. We just recently finished an exhibit, a NASA exhibit, which we had a little over 2,000 people come, which we couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Half of that was kids. We really reached out to all the area schools, and it kept us hopping for the time that we had it. But we decided, we need to find another traveling exhibit. Well, we found this, and like Melissa read, we've got personal connections with Tuskegee and the WASP. We are reaching out, if we move forward with this, we are reaching out already to relatives of those WASP and the Tuskegee Airmen. So plan to have a program on Sunday. All of it will be out at the airport. So the airplane will be there in the theater. And then we'll run people through the theater as fast as we can. Only 30 people can be in there at a time. We'll have it from 9 to 4 all those days, which hopefully we can get a lot of people through there. So sponsorship, we filled out. The Chamber's going to help us through tourism monies. The foundation, and of course the museum board is putting money up too. Our museum's free, so we live on donations. So and we've spent quite a bit of money on the building this year. If you've been out there recently, we fixed and we painted the west side. We fixed and painted the top of the front that says Coffeyville Municipal Airport. So it keeps us hopping, trying to keep the building in shape. So I'm excited about this. I hope we can I hope we can move
How
forward.
close to the total will this get you? Is there a remaining left over to get them here?
Only about 1,000. We've got some individuals who are already planning on donating. We need, the people that bring this, I think the reason it costs so much is they come and they run it the whole time. So I've already got motels donated. I need a couple of cars for those people for those days. But we're real close if all the paperwork that we did, everybody comes through with it.
Commissioner, I would suggest too that if they're unable to make that $1,000, that we consider making that up. I think this is important enough to the community and
Absolutely.
such a small amount that we should be prepared to make up
Help out.
that difference. And
I'm
so we'd
with
love
you
to
on
add
that.
that
Yep.
to this if that would be acceptable to you.
I've been out to the airport several times talking to Jared, and I can't believe how much better the airport looks. So I'm excited to have people out there to see our airport. That airplane will fly in, we'll have that program at 1 on Sunday, and then it will fly out, so people will see it. So it's one of the red tails, so if you know some history on the red tails. Oh, yeah, yes, you can ride in it for $2,500.
Ooh, wow.
I think I'll
Seriously.
I'll watch-
Interesting.
I'll watch
That's
from a
cool.
safe
And
distance.
Run
I'll
the
watch the
dates
movie.
again. What date is it?
October 3rd through the 6th.
Okay, so,
So that's a week of Dalton Defenders, which I
Defenders
think
Week.
helps.
Yeah.
okay.
More
Gives them
people
one more thing for people to
To
do.
do.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And you said the plane flies in what day?
On Wednesday,
On Wednesday.
and then it's open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from
And
9
it-
to 4.
And then they go home Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're the ones that suggested it on Sunday so people can watch it fly, hear it fly, is what he said.
Melissa, how much was the original ask for, the dollar amount?
The original ask was $3,000 towards the sponsorship and then $1,300 to fuel the plane for the return.
So 4,300.
4,300 total,
So
yeah.
Right now.
Can,
And you expect to get we'll just be prepared to front the rest if you don't get,
I don't think you're gonna have to do that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
what I
think
thought.
people
You'll
are-
get
well
the
then,
donation.
can we
People are
just make it
excited.
open-ended, like up to 5,300?
Yeah.
With the
Yeah,
original
I agree.
Let's do
43,
that. 40.
and then in case you don't, or something comes up and, you may not have, may not have thought about, we have it up there. Is that okay to do that?
Yep.
Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution R-24-58 with the stipulation that we will fund up to $5,300.
Second.
I'm sorry, was that Commissioner Edwards on the second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion is made by Commissioner Van Oster, seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve Resolution R-24-58 with the stipulation of funding up to $5,300 as needed. Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
and thank you for all that your volunteers do up there.
Well, it kept us hopping with all those kids.
I know it
I
did.
remembered why I retired. Pretty quickly.
But
No, it was wonderful.
Whoever posted on Facebook frequently when those visits would happen and all during that time did a great job.
Yeah,
And
it was
and
wonderful.
it was very neat to see all that happening up
Yeah.
there.
Well, I think this is gonna be even cooler.
Yes,
I
yes.
really do.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Next item is, hold on a minute. Next item is Resolution R-24-59, a resolution to execute a contract with Paylocity for human capital management software. Director of Human Resources, Allison Pryor, will make comments and answer any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
The item that you have before you is for approval of a month-to-month contract for a human resource information system. Currently, our processes in the HR department are largely manual and therefore exceedingly paper dependent. Paylocity is the software that we've selected to automate our processes and provide end-to-end human resource management. Paylocity's platform would establish a new face for our culture for the entire life cycle of an employee. By streamlining HR functions, we would then allow technology to handle what it is that it can handle and leave staff free to do the work that you've hired us to do. Due to Paylocity's economical pricing, ease of setup, and integration, I would ask that you consider approving this item. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
And Commissioners, let me jump in too. My experience in HR, whether directly over it or just as a manager of businesses and having to deal with it, I'm quite surprised at the quantity of work that Allison has been doing on that front when there are tools like this available. This is something that is, for lack of a better words, catching us up to the times. Most organizations are going to have these kind of tools. We're very paper heavy, but really coming back to the amount of work, it's overwhelming for me to think about it, let alone Allison has been doing that for several years. So I'm happy to answer any of those questions on the other front as well, because this is something that this is not a want, this is a need. I'm going to go as far as say a must-have for the efficiency of running an organization of our size.
We need to be in the 21st century on our technology, on everything.
Right. And like you said, the more we enable technology to do for us, the more you are free to do what you do best for us.
And I would like some degree of assessment, or not assessment, but I would like to feel confident that if this is approved, that the this software package will be used to its full extent as you presented, because was it 10, 12 years ago, the finance department told us they absolutely had to have this $10,000 software package for grant writing and sourcing. And the commission at that time approved that, and as far as I know, it was never used. So we just want to make sure that if we're going to approve this, you are in fact going to turn this thing loose. And
You have my promise.
With
She
all,
wants to make her life easier.
with all that it does, there is no doubt, I'm sure. you will
If
take-
you understood the extent to which literally every process I do is manual and paper dependent and is dependent on me entering the same information in various portals time and time and time again,
Yep.
you have my promise and my commitment that this process, this piece of technology would be used to every extent that it makes sense
What
for
about-
our organization.
What about integration of your current system into this one? How long
Exactly.
will that take?
So they are estimating 13 weeks to fully build out the system as we need it, and then for us to have that and begin implementing all of those pieces. So 13 weeks before we're ready to begin actually using it, and then they would upload our information straight from Encode, which is our financial software. Encode and Paylocity are able to integrate through CSV files, so we can upload and download information and run reports. And what they're telling us is that the integration should be relatively seamless.
Okay, you just mentioned something that hit a nerve. Whenever a company says the transition will be seamless, I start getting nervous.
But I said relatively seamless. So we're
It'll take
aware that there are always going to be bumps in the road and things that we have to handle differently, or certain processes that we may have to do differently or accommodate. For example, I'm thinking we have 4 labor unions at work within the city of Coffeyville that work a multitude of schedules. Some of them, payroll is dependent upon independent project coding for those. There may be specific sticking points there that we have to do a process manually, but that relieves so much time and man hours
All right.
from the rest of the process that it's still worth the investment.
Okay, bump in the road, okay. major pothole, not okay.
Of course.
All right, okay, thank you.
Move to approve Resolution R2459 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Commissioner Maples to approve Resolution R-24-59 as presented. Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Now I'm just wondering what you will do with all that extra time this will save you.
There's a long, there's
She's
a long
got
list.
plenty to do.
Plenty.
Next item is Resolution R-24-60, a resolution to authorize and provide for the calling of a special question election in the city of Coffeyville, Kansas for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the city the question of imposing a 1.5% citywide retailer sales tax for the purpose of financing the cost of general transportation improvements throughout the city and providing for the giving of notice of said election. City Clerk Melissa Carter will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, the approval of this resolution would enable us to put a sales tax question on the ballot for the November 5th election to impose a 1/2 cent sales tax, the proceeds of which shall be used to finance the cost of general transportation improvements throughout the city, including but not limited to streets, curbing, and sidewalks. If passed by electors, the collection would begin April 1st, 2025, for a term of 10 years. The city currently imposes a 1/2% citywide retailer sales tax, of which the proceeds are used for these same purposes. This 2015 transportation sales tax sunsets on March 31st, 2025. The net effect of passage of this 1/2 cent ballot proposition would be to continue the imposition of a 1/2% citywide retailer sales tax for an additional time period of 10 years. If approved, the amount of citywide retailer sales tax levied by the city would remain at the aggregate rate of 3%. So essentially, this is not a new sales tax, but the continuation of a sales tax that will expire on March 31st, 2025. If this resolution is passed this evening, we will begin work on an advertising campaign to get the word out about the sales tax question.
Thank you.
Question for our attorney.
Yes.
Can the word, where it says, for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the city the question of imposing a 1/2 cent, can that word imposing be replaced with the word continuing? So that it's clear, this is absolutely clear, this is not a new, but it is, we are continuing an existing 1/2 cent sales tax?
I believe so. I would confer with bond counsel to make certain about that, but yes, I believe so.
Because that would make it clear, I think, to the citizens that we're not adding another 1/2 cent sales tax.
Yeah, and I think the critical thing is to just get the information out to the
Okay.
All right.
Commissioners, part of that, we've been consulting on how to advertise this. Obviously, as I've come on, you hear a lot about streets here in town. I was shown a map today, and maybe Thomas could speak to it if you have questions on it, where I'm going to say nearly all, not all, streets in Coffeyville since 2013 of the sales tax have had some type of improvement on them. So, chip and seal up to completely replacing roads. So I was first nervous that we wouldn't be able to show that we've really done anything with that, but the data that I'm seeing, everything has been touched. Again, we're talking 10 years here. Nearly everything has been touched. So we were going to try to put that together as well and to show the community those projects that have been done and we're going to continue to do. And obviously we have with new administration and the commission that we have today, we are looking forward to amping those projects up like we haven't done before.
Yep.
So we'll
There's
do our
been a
best to
lot of-
articulate that in this process.
Approving this to put on the ballot in November will put it in front of the citizens for them to decide, so.
Yep.
And so we need to push for ourselves, yes, by showing what we have done, but also some type of plan of what we hope to do. I know that's, we have so many people asking, when are you going to touch my streets? And there are certain ones that are very evident that need touched.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And that's where,
Yep.
if we could just show a plan or something. I mean, I get that
And some-
that's difficult to do, and
That's not, we can do that.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes,
And
to
staff has had those plans, we're gonna do a better job at
Okay.
advertising that to the
That's-
public.
I
And then
think that I
as far as
want.
from a leadership perspective and the intent, this has been in the paper, it hasn't completed the story, and so I'm gonna just go ahead and break it on behalf of this individual that we're hiring. But we have hired Jim Wright, who has been the Public Works Director and before that Deputy Director at the county, and he is coming on to take that Executive Director role and lead forward. And so these are top of the list for myself and will be as we bring on that leadership and move forward here with a different approach than has been in the past.
Okay.
I've had the same people ask me the same question about streets plan. So if I would like to suggest, could it be one of the web pages on our city website with a full story, plan, pictures, graphics, and if you could direct somebody to just go to the city website, go to the street projects webpage, and it'll just lay it all out.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a great idea.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can do that. This, don't expect that the first week that Jim
No.
gets here, which is the end of
No.
August. But yes, this is a plan to get to that point where, to me,
So
the
if
most
they
important
ask,
part of
I
that
can
is
just-
communicating.
Right.
It's
What
a lot
have we
easier to
done
show
and what are
them
we
that
going to
than to
continue
try
to do?
To
explain it all.
explain.
Anyway.
Yeah,
better
It's the
we-
communication that we need
Yeah.
to be
The
better
better we
at.
communicate and educate our citizens, the better
And it's
we
always
have,
there.
and the more
you know?
confidence I believe they have in the city to get
And-
things done. They're
you know-
not easy, I know, but
And we're proposing through the budget, and of course, we've talked about the amendments, or this really comes in further conversation about our desire to put more, not just contracted services into our streets and our roads, but city staff at that. And so,
Okay,
that's
yes.
an objective as well, that we'll continue to talk through the budget process on increasing services and what that means to the budget as far as increasing staff and bringing on the appropriate equipment to accomplish more.
All right.
okay.
Move to approve Resolution R2460 as presented.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Vice Mayor Faulkner to approve Resolution R-24-60 as presented. Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. Next item, Resolution R-24-61, a resolution to approve a contract with Mid-American Court Works for the reconstruction of LeClaire Park tennis courts. Deputy Director of Public Service Thomas Osborne will make comments and answer any questions.
And Commissioners, I'm going to kick this one off as well, and we'll let Thomas get into those details. 2 weeks ago, we brought this before you, and we, let me tell you, this one has been a living process and ever-changing, if you will. And so lots of information as we continue to dig and understand what's going on. We want to make sure to explain that as best as we can. So we brought this before you because the CDBG grant, the deadlines were pushed back for a second time. What that causes in this particular case is we have to redo our public hearing. The application has to be submitted. We have to go out for bids again. And so it's a complete redo of our process because the timing we had already accomplished all those things is now outside of that scope. So that's why we had first brought this up as, hey, is this something you really want? We should just do anyways. The concerns have come up that we're going to somehow lose the opportunity to apply for those CDBG grant money, and that is not the case. We already have another project that frankly I feel better fits the requirements and the opportunity to get that grant. These grants, you have a 50-50 chance that the quantity of other communities applying and the terms, and they've got point systems for how they grade these and do they fit better. And so we believe we have another grant opportunity that we will immediately move forward on if we go forward with the tennis courts to still try to get that grant money. So I want to rest assured it's not about losing that grant money. Now, what we're presenting before you here, there are some other things that have come to light and some other funding opportunities, and so I want to make sure to point those out. What we're talking about, first off, is the bid that we've received we really like. It's a good bid, it's from a reputable construction company that this is what they focus on. We have referrals, local referrals, so we're very satisfied with the company. This is not just a low bid that someone's going to do a crappy job, if you will. So very satisfied with the company. The bid is extremely well. We are, worried that you're going to go out for bids again, and that we're enough time has passed that those will increase. And so Thomas will talk about that bid here in a moment. We have already, and this was before I got here, set aside $197,000 in ARPA funds to go to this project. And so that money is still there. That makes a remaining of about $600,000. The Coffeyville Foundation has given what I'm going to say a soft promise. They have to go to their board, they have to have conversations, but they've come to me twice and said, we really want to participate, and we have people in the community that want to participate in funding to get this done. And they want it done sooner, right? The public wants to be able to try to use this next year. The current low bid has committed to starting construction in October. Completion is still probably looking at early to mid-spring. There's a lot of factors in there. They have to have enough days of a certain temperature for concrete to settle. So we have this opportunity to get funding from the community through Coffeyville Foundation is a great source, and they'll be able to go out and do that work to bring in money. We have already had another soft commitment from the Cherokee Nation of up to $100,000. And then the Coffeyville Foundation has pointed out some other grants that we hadn't considered before, Dick's Sporting and USA Tennis. As I quickly looked at those today, I got those today, we're looking at about another $100,000. So very quickly, the cost can go down to the $200,000 to $300,000 range for the city. Now that being said, none of this could come to, and it's the full bill here. There's also we can separate this out. About the $610,000 is the contractor that Thomas is going to talk about. The remaining is actually our work and just buying equipment and building out bleachers and the seating and the shading. So I'll go ahead and stop there, make sure to articulate the options here.
So in years past, being on the Parks Advisory Board, this was a major project, and previously the City Rec Board had committed or did suggest they would pitch in for this. That was years ago. I don't know what their stance is today, but it was in the 100,000 range. I forget what it was, but they were willing to pitch in towards this project. Is that still a standing offer with them? Have we talked to them?
I have talked to one of the members, and another member and I played phone tag throughout the day. Their initial concern was, and maybe Thomas, you can correct me on some of his if I'm incorrect, that this park was not on the list.
No. The City Rec.
Oh, City Rec. We're not talking Park Board.
No.
City Recreation.
The City Recreation.
Okay.
What had in the past committed a soft promise to pitch in money for this from their budget.
So have you talked to David Brains?
He and I last week spent about 3 hours together driving through the city. This did not come up, and so absolutely we can add that to the list of the community that's interested in supporting this.
And they were highly interested in it before.
Okay.
And is the school interest USD
Yeah,
445?
what about 445?
USD 445?
I do know Tim, when he was here, did have conversations with both, but I don't know exactly what those came, so they are aware that we're trying.
Let's check on that
Because those are
tomorrow.
two more funding opportunities.
And they wanted it specific for tennis court. I know the City Rec did, not something else. So, and to get kids tennis going again, that was the purpose. So can we? That
Absolutely,
would be
we'll
another
reach out to
funding
both of
source.
those, and I can do that
So
tomorrow.
what was the proposed start date?
October.
Yeah.
They would, I want to be careful there too. I don't think.
Bobby Joe had to step out.
Bobby
So
Joe's hearing more.
That process, so is basically they would start in October, get the concrete work done. The temperature, truly temperature sensitive part is the coating that goes on top of the concrete work. And that has to have, I believe, 10 days of 60-degree plus clear sunny sky weather for it to be able to go down and meet the requirements for any sort of warranty work on that. So that's kind of where, once we get, with starting in October, it's kind of late to make sure we can hit those temperatures, and we may be waiting until we can get them around in that next spring. And so that's where that's the part that could take a little longer, but they could definitely get the concrete down starting this October.
What is staff's recommendation?
The recommendation would be to go ahead and move forward with getting the tennis courts complete through community funding, other small grant opportunities in the city, and let us immediately start preparing to still get the CDBG grant with, I believe, an opportunity that will be more likely. It's still 50%, right? I'm not guaranteeing we'll go get the grant for the next project.
But you feel more confident about it?
I feel more confident because this other project, we're actually already doing some things in the area, and one of those point system is, what are you contributing to the grant that gives you the increased position.
Okay, just as kind of an, oh, by the way, comment, I'm also with Kiwanis, and we had a presentation by David Rains, and one of the things he mentioned was that pickleball has absolutely exploded across the country. And here in town, everybody wants Chapman to be their partner, so they can get that 100-mile-an-hour slam across the net. But I noticed on the diagram for the 6 courts, it looked as if the 2 end courts also had paint or diagrams on it representing pickleball courts. Is that correct?
So I'll speak to that real quick. That is on the diagram currently. We've had some discussions with the Kansas Association for Athletic Sports. We need to go back and revisit those just to make sure, because there are certain regulations on whether or not they would be allowed to have those lines or not. So we want to double check and make sure. But that's
For tournaments.
And that would be, I was going to say for tournaments, because I
But I'm
thought,
told that we need 6 courts for sanctioned tournaments, though.
Yes, but the high school rules, and you can talk to this, if you paint pickleball lines on those courts, you have to have 6 only tennis courts
Yeah.
to
be
hold
able to
tournaments
do-
here for
And
the
that-
high school
For
regional
only
league.
tennis.
When we originally
Yes.
looked out,
So-
it was
All right.
optimal is 6, but as long as you had 4, you're okay. That was way earlier in the year, so we need to double check and make sure we reach out so that we don't impact the ability for being able to host those.
So
bowls.
staff, are you formulating a plan to have a separate pickleball court?
Yes.
Short answer. All right.
Look, just by putting this on the agenda last week and this week, I think we're garnering enough support from the community saying, whoa, wait a minute, they're very passionate about this. And so we're going to have those conversations. We need to turn some of these soft conversations into solid agreements with these other boards. And the hope would be that we can garner enough money to continue that project, and perhaps we can move pickleball, because to your point, I went and looked at the recreation building, and they had pickleball nets all put up in the basketball court because the quantity of people are coming in for that. So we do see that as a need. To top that off, commissioners, I've talked to you about, and I'm going to go meet with our parks advisory board, and I've already notified recreation that Jared Powers is actually now our Parks and Rec director, not just airport director. And so we are committed to having a deeper focus on these parks, the relationship with our advisory board, and taking care of the parks down to the cleaning of bathrooms and taking care of trash, not just as equipment. So we are moving forward with a different vision for what these parks, what our obligation is as the city to provide services to maintain those. And so we'll continue to add things that are value add to the community.
I would like to make a suggestion that the commission direct city staff to devise, it looks like we're going to get phase 1 tonight with 6 tennis courts. I would like to see us give staff direction to start putting together a phase 2 that would be pickleball courts just south of the tennis courts and a seating area for that, and possibly restroom facilities if they feel like that might be something that would be necessary there, because I don't know that there are any restroom
There
facilities.
is.
There are?
There's the,
Yeah.
They're on the east side. You have to kind of go
They
out
probably
and around.
need a little
Okay.
fixing to
They
them.
need,
Well,
they need
yes,
some
but-
repairs
But
and.
I clearly, I don't play tennis or pickleball, so I know absolutely nothing about this. I know that these are amenities that help us provide a quality of life for our citizens that do want to be physically active. And so I'd like to see us go ahead and have, use there's enough land, from what I can see, south of those tennis courts. I don't know if it's level enough.
Well, so that whole park, part of that is controlled somewhat by Kansas Wildlife and Parks.
Okay.
As far as open space, and so we would have to run anything sort of that expansion through them,
Sure.
whether that would be allowed.
And I'd also like to just state for the record there that although absolutely staff can go do those things, we want to emphasize the relationship we want to have with our advisory board.
Sure.
Yes.
And have those conversation level of participation. There are 5 members on that board with a lot of experience as well.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's not at that location, maybe it's another, they've looked at this a lot further in a lot of different parks. And
Sure.
so
I will say there is in later parks in the master plan that has spots for pickleball in
Right.
other locations.
Okay.
That have been looked at, so.
Right.
So you were talking earlier about working with the foundation. One thing in here was the Coffeyville Community Enhancement Foundation that was in this audit report that we were given tonight. And it's a 501c3 corporation whose board of directors is currently the city commission, meaning we have an avenue to create another fund. One example in here was Midland Theater Restoration. And could a sub-fund be created here that would, separate from the CACF, but be inside this Coffeyville Community Enhancement Foundation for parks?
Yeah.
For people to donate to businesses, companies,
Yeah,
et cetera.
that was brought up today, another funding option there, but, I think we want to go to the Coffeyville Foundation, and there's a benefit
Okay.
to them as
Yeah.
well here.
Just
and
question,
have that
There is.
relationship.
Batting ideas
Yes,
around
I
here.
think there's a
Because
lot of,
you
a lot
can-
of good ideas to go get the community to
Set up-
participate in this and get this project done.
Yeah. 'Cause you-
I will suggest that, you know, the ability at this point to get this project started in October is based on approving this bid and moving forward with them based on their payment schedule. So again, the intent would be at least the recommended $611,000 that we're committing to paying that, knowing that staff is going to go work with community partners to, add the community to function in that. We could absolutely go and do some more research and bring back, but we're going to run up against the deadlines of our bid.
Right.
and-
What I
see,
was
this is
thinking was
just-
the
let's get
pickleball
first-
courts, yeah.
First
Oh, I
phase
see.
1
Yeah.
done
Okay.
first. Let's
Yeah,
get
that's what I was
done.
thinking.
As
Okay.
we're talking about this, I know also we need to make sure we establish maintenance plans, because that's part of where we're in trouble with the tennis courts and some other things.
Yeah.
Is we don't have a dedicated plan out there, and I thought the Parks Board, weren't you kind of taking some of you were hoping to establish a maintenance fund, right? And if you can come up and talk about that.
Well, and
For, just a minute.
And I'll just speak ahead of that real quick, because I'm not sure what they have, but know
Yes.
that the city is also committed to that through a Parks and Rec director
Right,
here on what we
right.
should, on the
And
obligation.
That's
So
what I mean. Now,
we'll need a partner on
all to-
how
that's right.
they want to utilize money versus how we just should utilize money, and kind of recreate this relationship, I believe.
So yeah, so when we developed the plan for the 10-year, each phase had funds left over for maintenance for the parks in the future and whatnot. I don't know how those funds are used. We don't really see the budget that much. But that was the intent, so we didn't have an issue with parks like we have now that are Walter Johnson's 20-plus years old on the equipment, and it's dangerous to use. You can't get parts for it and so on. We didn't want that going forward, so that's why we tried to build that into the plan.
Okay. So you do not know where you stand available.
And I'll be going to their first meeting here in August.
Okay.
And Jared will come with me, and then
Okay.
moving forward, the expectation would be that our Parks and Rec director is at every one of those meetings and opening that relationship up.
Okay, good.
And-
I thought that Tim had got an agreement from 445 to take care of the maintenance.
Okay, I don't know
On-
any.
I don't know.
On what?
On the tennis
court?
courts?
We're talking parks,
I don't,
not tennis courts.
right.
Oh, for the tennis courts.
Well, I don't even
I
know
will-
about that.
I will say,
but-
so in the half-cent sales tax that was passed, there is a portion of that that was cut out specifically to hire additional seasonal workers, both to help install park equipment as well as continue to help maintain that. So that was built into that 10-year sales tax. As far as, and I think we definitely need to have more clear on how much money is there for the Parks Board.
Yeah.
Some of that's, me and Bobby Joe were having problems getting information on exactly what we had available. It is a broke-out plan to have, so we would, right now, we focused on one park at a time. Hey, this was what was budgeted in the budget for this year. We tried to stay within that.
Okay.
That's kind of how we've worked it, because we're having trouble with those numbers. But there's been a lot of changes recently, so I think those are going to be able to get those
And
numbers
speaking of
available.
one park at a time, are we on schedule with our parks?
Yes.
So
So-
like we're done with Sycamore?
So the only
Because-
thing that's left at Sycamore is the parking lot itself. The parking lot for Sycamore, as well as the parking lot for North Park, are planned to try to bid together to reduce those costs, because neither one of those parking lots are really big enough to see, kind of bulk discounts, get the people that want to come in. They're very small areas versus having.
And they will
a
be
larger
asphalt or
combined.
concrete parking lots, correct?
They should be, the plan is to be asphalt.
So we're somewhat behind on Sycamore, right?
Specifically for
I mean,
that, yeah, which was
And then
scheduled.
North Park,
North Park-
technically, we only
North
have
Park-
6 months left.
We have all the equipment
Get him
has
in,
been
Bree, get
ordered.
I'm just saying, I'm just going
The
by.
equipment has been
clock is
ordered.
ticking.
Yeah.
Typically, kind of how we've been phasing these, just for these, because in the past, and some of this may change, they're still working on all that, who's doing what exactly, but Public Service has been very busy doing a lot of the street repairs and stuff right now to do that, and then in the fall, kind of September,
Okay,
October
just so
is
that-
when we hit that. And that's the same thing that we did with Sycamore.
Right.
Was we
Just so
waited
that we don't
kinda-
get-
Kind of the end of the year, we do, like I said, all the equipment's been ordered for North Park. It's on order, it has not been delivered yet.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's good.
So along the maintenance lines, I wanted to bring up something. I would like staff, Thomas, Jared, Ben, to look at the construction of these tennis courts if they get approved tonight, and look at details of how this can be the least maintenance possible going forward, that things last a long time. You don't have to fix things. We know we can go a little cheap when we don't need to, and things last 5 years instead of 15 years. And what details could make this maintenance-free for a very long time, if we have to spend a little extra money to do that? Just thoughts on that. Okay.
Move to approve resolution R 2461 as presented.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion is made by Commissioner Edwards, seconded by Commissioner Maples to approve Resolution R-24-61 as presented. Commissioner Maples.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Hendricks.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faulkner.
Aye.
thank you.
So,
Yep.
We have a tennis player in the audience.
Okay, next up, city manager's report. Do you want to talk more?
I'm exhausted.
Or you're exhausted? and
I don't
that's
think I've got
okay.
my wind for
I
the
was-
length of your meetings
I
yet,
was,
so I think we've had a
You'll
lot of
pass?
conversations the
Yep.
last 2 days. I think, other than, again, thanking staff who have come tonight and the level of detail that they're presenting, we'll call it good for me.
okay.
All right.
All right. All right.
Comments from commissioners and staff?
Nope, we're
I don't
done.
have any.
All right.
think
Well,
we're good.
you know, compared
I
to the
think we're
meetings
good.
after the flood, these are still short, right, Mr.
We're not,
Kreitz?
we're
not
12 years
flood
past
zone.
that. We're past, we're gone.
Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion is made by Commissioner Maples, seconded by Commissioner Van Oster to adjourn. Can I see a show of hands? Thank you.